MTN has reached 125,000 kilometers of fiber on the continent, this putting the mobile provider closer to achieving its goal of 135,000 kilometers by next year. Business Days business writer Mudiwa Gavaza joins us now to unpack the progress made under the group strategy called Ambition 2025. Mudiwa, a pleasure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Olutando.
All right, maybe we can start off by just speaking about this goal that MTN had set here as part of Ambition 2025, 135,000 kilometers of fiber. That's quite a number.
It's quite a number indeed. When you consider, the number of telecoms operators on the African continent, we've seen a number of players, boasting that more than 100,000 kilometer number. Liquid Telecom, for example, is sitting at around 110,000, at least according to the last numbers that we had. And then we also have MTN now at 125. Interesting thing about MTN is that they were at 114 just over a year ago. So it means they've been able to add about 11,000 Ks, in about a year. So if you were to use the same trajectory and push that out to about another year, then they will likely comfortably reach that 135,000, K type of number that they're looking for. I think just the one thing to just add there is that all of these players that we're talking about, as big as their fiber assets are, when it comes to distance, all of it pales in comparison to what our friends locally at Telkom have at 170,000 kilometers.
Very interesting indeed, Mudiwa. I actually want to speak about what it does take to put this infrastructure up in different parts of the continent. It's unlike, for instance, like you said, with Telkom, it would have been a South Africa project. Here, it looks like MTN has undertaken an East to West Africa kind of view, and I imagine that that's come with its own complexities.
It certainly does. And one of the things that you can imagine a group like MTN is trying to do is to de-risk some of these builds, because one of the interesting conversations that we recently had with their group CEO, Ralph Mpita, is the fact that once upon a time, the biggest competitive edge was on mobile towers. And you had the likes of Vodacom, MTN, and then on the rest of the continent, the likes of Airtel, Orange, and others, all in this race to build as many towers as possible. And in a lot of those cases, you're almost going at it alone. And it was like this capex, capex type of competition that was happening. But now we see a lot more partnership. We've also seen some of the consolidation in the space. When we think about the deal that Vodacom is trying to put together with Massive, which is made up of Vumatel and Dark Fiber, it sort of shows the fact that these businesses are looking to partner so that they can put together the capex to do this. And in the same way, MTN, in its pledge to 135,000 has actually partnered with an entity called Africa 50, and they've actually gone on, for that 6 billion rand project that they are currently working on. So it seems that capex is still the name of the game, but people are just being a bit smarter about how they do it and partnering so that they don't have to take all the risk on their own.
But once this fiber is laid out, I guess then it also, means that MTN, best case scenario, is well positioned for these homes, for these families, for these businesses to then acquire the clients on it, to really have them have MTN on the whole value chain in terms of fiber connection. I'm wondering if we are seeing a throughput there, a direct relationship between the laying down of the fiber and then the growth of the business.
Well, there's a couple of things that need to be understood. If we're going to take it directly on the home front, the truth of the matter is, at least in South Africa, MTN has not done as well as it has wanted to do when it comes to competing in what people call the home. When you hear operators talking about competing in the home, they're usually talking about fiber and fixed wireless. And MTN has a unit called Supersonic, And, that is their ISP business that does that. And, they can admit that, they haven't done as well. But the other way to look at fiber is to also think about it holistically. When you are a company like MTN, you're looking at your connectivity across the board. You're saying to yourself that I must be able to get a person who's on mobile, I should be able to get a person who's on fiber, who's on fixed wireless. And if I don't have any of those, then I should have capacity in the sky, through satellite to make some of those connections. And then I should also have capacity on undersea cables to make sure that I'm connecting, to all of the various countries that we're operating in. So that's the other thing, especially when you think about it from an East to West Africa point of view, like what they're trying to do with that specific project. You are trying to connect, a number of different countries and trying to increase your backhaul, your capacity, make sure that more of your countries are connected with each other, and that the overall portfolio is in a solid space.
With that said, Mudiwa, then I want to speak about, what then it would mean once we reach this 135,000 kilometer, milestone. I'm sure there'll be some champagne to be popped here, but then what? And I think an important one in terms of just trying to figure out, how we make sure that this investment does see maximum returns for MTN, and that MTN does, of course, make the in-grounds that it expects.
Well, the biggest thing is that you can't look at a move like that in isolation. From an MTN point of view, they have their infrastructure unit is called Baobab, and it's the one that is leading, all of these projects that we're talking about. And they aren't only focusing on fiber. So as much as they've got this 135,000 goal in mind, they are also signing deals. Last week we reported that they recently signed a deal with Eutelsat OneWeb, to provide some of the satellite capacity. They've also indicated that they were in talks with the likes of Starlink. I don't know whether they will still sign with Starlink now that they have OneWeb, but you see that they tend to have multiple partnerships. So that might still be a possibility. That's one. Two, they are focusing, like we said, on that east to west route. Liquid, many years ago, focused on what they called Cape to Cairo, where they wanted to connect, from Cape Town all the way up to the top of the continent. So you have all of these different players that are coming together, trying to connect up as many areas as possible. And the biggest thing that they all still struggle with is rural connectivity. You can connect up metros, you can connect up a lot of towns and cities, but large parts of Africa's population, including in South Africa, do still exist in your what are called secondary and rural towns. So the next frontier is it worth it for them to invest in fiber for maybe your rural areas, or do you continue to sign up your satellite capacity to make those connections happen?
Very interesting indeed. Mudiwa will be watching this one closely. Always interesting developments in your sector. That was Mudiwa Gavaza. He's business writer for Business Day.